Hi, welcome to the AllBrands show with me, your host, Courtney Dowdett. Today we are creating a design in my design center and actually stitching it out. So we are going to be playing around my design center so that way you guys kind of get a feel of it a little more. Because I feel like I see your questions. I see them. Courtney, I really like my machine and I have this thing called my design center and I've heard that it's wonderful, but like what do I do with it? So I'll show you what I do with it and how I create really fun things with it. So let's jump over to my machine. So my design center, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select my design center at the bottom of my screen. Now, there are so many different options. You, of course, first are selected with a pen, so you could draw on there and just scribble. Now, I am not one for calligraphy, so this is not a tool that I use a ton. So I'm going to come here to my properties, and I could actually change it to a decorative line if I wanted to. So instead of just a straight stitch, it could be a decorative stitch. And I'm going to go ahead and hit preview, so you can see the first one's a beautiful regular stitch, and then the other one is a really cool decorative stitch. So if you wanted to maybe outline something this way, that's usually what I do, is use it for outlining different things and kind of highlighting, but I don't ever just freehand it. Now, if we come up to the top of here, to the top of our screen, you'll see line and image. These are how you can bring in photos. Now, the Stellaire look works a little bit different than the 1060, 1055, Luminaire, and Avenir. They actually have a camera built into those machines. This machines you have to use an app. So you might remember this from Father's Day. I had my son write dad on a piece of paper just with a marker, and then I went ahead and put it on the little image scan mat. I want to call it a mat. It's a frame. Can you tell I love scanning cut? So I went ahead and put it on there, and we're going to add these little green magnets that actually hold it down. So they work beautifully to hold it down, and that way we can scan it in. So again, scanning on like a 1060, 1055, an Avenir, a Luminaire, Stellaire, we take a picture with our phone, but it all works through my design center, which is fantastic. Now, my favorite is doing illustrated design because I feel like it gives me a nicer scan, but some people prefer to do a line design if they want the outer part of it, and I'll show you both. But what it's going to do is it's going to scan this frame to take whatever the image is, so whatever the picture is, and actually bring it into the machine to digitize it. So a lot of people like to do coloring books and different things like that to bring in a design. So I love freehanding them. I think it's kind of fun. Now, I don't freehand them. I mean like someone writing their name or design that way, not just creating them freehand, because I can't do that. So there we go. There's our picture. Isn't that neat? So again, you could do a line design, illustrated design, or image scan. I, again, personally prefer an illustrated design, but I'll show you the difference between them. So this is the line design. You see how I went around it? It didn't actually fill it in. I would have preferred it to be filled in with like a satin stitch is my preference. But again, everyone teach their own, but that's what I would have preferred. Alrighty, so I'm going to shrink it in because we don't want those green parts, and I'm going to show you my favorite one. So I'm going to decrease the color from 10 down to 2 because it's going to think the inside's a color, but the blue, and then the inside of the D and the A and stuff like that, but then I can tell it to no-so that area. Can you tell I'm really like doing this? It's so easy. It's so easy. All right, here we go, and it's going to create a design. Again, it's going to fill it in, not like how it did that outer line situation. What you would want, and maybe that's personal preference. Let me know, what would you use it for? All right, there's our design. How awesome. All right, so it's going to go ahead and stitch it out and see how it filled it in. I don't have that weird outer line thing. It's not weird, it's just not what I was looking for, but how amazing. So now I can go ahead and stitch this out, and it's handwriting. It's my child's handwriting, but again, coloring book, we could have filled it in and colored it. So if you couldn't find a design you wanted, but you saw a coloring book picture of it, especially for kids' designs. I am so sick of Bluey. That's that blue dog. My son's obsessed with him. So I've just been taking coloring book pages and actually filling them in with my design center and making custom embroidery designs. And you can even make custom applique inside the machine. And no outside software is needed. Everything's done inside the machine, which makes it so much easier. And how cute did this custom cat come out? It was so good. And this was such an easy Father's Day gift. And honestly, we never know what to get them in our family. So this is one helpful thing. Alright, so let's go back to my design center. Now, I'm going to start playing with the shapes because it is very fun to play with all the different things and switch in there. But what I play with mostly in my design center, if it's not bringing in a design with that image designing, it's going to be actually bringing in shapes and making embroidery designs or quilting designs. So I love quilting designs. So what I like to do is I like to come in here to the shapes, and then I take a shape. And usually I start with a square. And I kind of create that as my border. So we're going to do some trapunto right now, of course, because that, if you haven't noticed, is one of my favorite things to do. And I'm going to start layering shapes on top. So I'm just going into the shapes, hitting OK, grabbing another shape,
hitting OK, and just layering them, resizing them inside of each other. So then that way I can kind of make this really cool, like added layer to it, which is a lot of fun. And of course, if you didn't just see, I selected something a minute ago and I didn't like it. So that undo button at the bottom, my best friend when it comes to that. So again, I'm just going to grab the next shape. Alrighty, so we've got this one, this little diamond shape right here. We're going to add it in. Like I said, it's just layering. So you see at the bottom, we've got size, rotate, all those options. I'm going to resize, but resize proportionally all in together until I kind of like where it is. If you notice, the points of my diamond are touching the outer edge because I'm making sections, which is a lot of fun. And then I'm going to go back into the shapes, and it's just this layering effect that makes it so cool, especially when you're doing trapunto. Now, this does not have to be trapunto. You could actually make it into any kind of quilt design you like, but I really like playing with those built-in field designs because it makes it look really, really, really neat and very dimensional, something that I would never be able to free motion quilt ever. There we go. All right, I love this. I'm going to shrink it down just a little bit. I love that I get a live preview of what's actually going to stitch out and what it's really going to look like. So that way I can kind of build on it a little bit better. All right, so I'm going to come right here where it's kind of like a little piece of paper with writing. And I'm going to come into my fill designs. So I could just do a full stitch out right here. So if I had to do this one with the paint bucket tool, it would just have it be a full set, like full stitch. This whole thing would be stitches, which would be great. But I want something a little bit more fun. So I'm going to come back to that area, go to... I actually changed it to blue because I like the blue one. And then I'm going to go ahead and go to my fill stitches. Now you have so many different options, which is great. So if I hit select, all these different options come up. And if I scroll down, more come up and more come up and more come up. Now if you notice, I try to go select my favorite one and I talk myself out of it. So I'm like, oh, I should try a different one. Okay, fine. Spoiler alert, I go back to my favorite one. So right now with paint bucket, so if I select anywhere, it's going to fill it full to that fill design with the paint bucket tool, which is really, really neat. So this one is gorgeous. Now, this is a really pretty shell design, but I can come and change the size of it. So say I wanted to make that design bigger or smaller within that area, I absolutely could, and it would look great. Now, usually I like to make it a little bit smaller because it's going to have this really puffy batting in it, and I actually want that batting to be shrunk down because I am doing trapunto, so I do like to make it smaller. But of course, I couldn't go ahead. That one, as pretty as that one is, the other one is my favorite, so I'm going to go and select that one instead. So there we go. I'm going to scroll down. I'm trying to talk myself into picking a different design, but Courtney, we both know that you're going to go for the one that you always go for, which is the top one. Just might as well click it from the start. There we go. So there we go. That is my favorite one. I can't help myself. So we're going to go ahead and hit OK on that design. There we go. And I have the paint bucket tool still selected, so wherever I select is going to change into that fill design. Ooh, not that one. Undo. There we go. Fill it in. Fill it in. Gorgeous. So it looks fantastic. Now at the bottom left-hand side, I am going to change the size of it, so I'm going to make it a lot smaller. I think I go to 50% and then hit set. And now you have to do it for each section because, of course, it doesn't change all the sections because you might want those different. It's giving you that possibility if you want that option. But I do want them all to be smaller, and it looks so good when you shrink it down. I love it because you can see more of the design. Not that it wasn't pretty as the big design, but I do want the smaller one. So I'm going to each section of those fill design to make it smaller. So again, you didn't have to make the whole thing smaller, but I feel like I like seeing more of the design, and since I am doing trapunto, I do want it to be kind of pushed down there. This would actually let a few more of the fluffiness of the batting come through, but when I make it smaller, it won't. So I'm checking all my size, make sure I shrunk them all down. There we go. And we're going to go ahead and hit preview, hit OK, saying, hey, you're exiting my design center. No takesy backsies on that one, guys. All right, now here's the design. Look how much pretty, how much pretty. Look how pretty it is when you shrink it down. And then saying, hey, you've exited my design center, so there's no going back. You can't edit that like how we just did. You'd have to go back in. So now I can resize it, make it, I actually am going to make it a little bit bigger just because I have a bigger hoop that I actually plan to put it in. So I could go bigger in there and do a bigger quilt block if I wanted to. So I just went ahead and up the size of it. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK, and it up the size of everything proportionally, hit embroidery, and we're good to go. Now I'm putting some no-show. Well, it should be no-show. This is actually fusible because I couldn't find my no-show, but this will work for the demo purposes. Y'all don't tell anyone. So I'm just hooping just the no-show in there, and I'm gonna go ahead and tighten it. Now I know you see the registration marks on that hoop. That is how it actually works with the app I was telling you about, that you take a picture and bring it in. That's how the Stellaire does it. All the other machines, the Avenir, Luminaire, 1060 and 1055, those do it with the scan frame. So that's the difference. Now I'm taking some very thick, lofty batting. It is very, very thick. You'll be able to see it in a minute. Now, granted, it's way too big for what I'm doing, but I didn't feel like cutting it down. So this is going to work. It does not need to be this big. It does need to be a little bit bigger than your design, because it is going to shrink in a little bit once it starts stitching out. If you ever noticed that, your stuff kind of shrinks in a little bit. And again, so this is my topper material right here, so you'll be able to see this. And now normally with Trapunto, they actually have you stitch out the design, a part of the design, just where it's going to be fluffy, and then they have you cut around the batting. I am going to avoid cutting something with all cost. So I like to just do it all in one. Now I'm going to use some 505 spray just to put on the back of the batting so it sits onto that fabric, stays onto there. And then the same thing, I'm going to put it onto the back of that fabric and put it down to the batting so it holds on there. Now I'm not putting a ton because it is going to shrink, and I want it to be able to be really fluffy in there. So I'm not putting a good bit, just a little bit. Now some people like to use T-pins and just pin the batting, stabilizer, all of that together, and you can do that if you want, but I don't want to have to worry about pins when I'm embroidering. So I could just put it where I know it's not going to stitch, or I could just hit it with some 505 real quick. So of course that's what I chose to do. So we're going to go ahead and put it in my machine. All these layers, I'm making sure that I can slide my hoop in there nicely. There we go. All right. And she's ready to stitch. So I'm just making sure it's laid all nice and flat for me. And I'm sorry if you can hear any background noises. I'm finishing this voiceover while at a quilt show. All right, let's go ahead and we're gonna stitch it on down. Now it is going through a lot. It is in there. So there she goes. Now, at first you're like, is she sewing? Like it's almost like a pillow. Like, where is she? Believe me, that design is going to start pushing out. Look, there she is. And it's going to smooth it over with that embroidery foot. It's fantastic. It's going to go ahead and smooth all those areas out so I get a beautiful, beautiful stitch out. So here she goes. Gorgeous. So I think it's doing one of the corners right now, and it's just going to expand out, and it just makes that design just suddenly just reveal itself. And so it's actually going to do the fill stitches first, and then it's going to go around and doing that beautiful satin stitch around. It works beautiful. Look at it. Do you see how it's already getting plushy where the design is not? And look, it's not even having a hard time with all that lofty batting in there. You can't tell I sped up the footage. There we go. Alrighty, so it's done to the corners and now it's going to do the center, and the center actually has this like really pretty scallopy kind of floral design to it, which is really neat. And you think it would give the machine issues, but it doesn't, and it's going around perfectly creating that design. If only our machine stitched this fast, wouldn't that be great? Honestly, I'd prefer it to slow down, but look how pretty and like how fluffy it's getting in between those designs. You can actually see it just kind of coming out of its own. It's fantastic. So again, this is how I like to do my trapunto, but some people prefer to, you know, cut around it. Again, I'm going to avoid scissors at all costs. So usually what they do is they stitch it out and with the puffy foam and or puffy batting and or foam, puffy batting, and then they go around wherever it's not going to have the design. So the puffy part, they have you cut that part out, then put your top fabric on there, and then have you stitch that out. And that's okay, and that works great. But since I have all these knockdown fill stitches that are gonna push it down for me, I don't have to do that part, and I can actually leave it in there, and it's gonna squish down that really heavy batting for me. It works fantastic. So I love doing quilts like this. Honestly, doing like a white fabric like this and then doing a pretty white thread and having that monochromatic look to it, gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous with this kind of trapunto. So highly recommend that if you've never done that. But if you have my design center, did you even realize you could do this? Did you realize this was a thing? Are you now wanting to do it? Like, look at all that thick batting that's in there, and I've got like I think 2 layers of this really high loft batting in there. I do not remember the brand of it, honestly. It's one of those, it happened to be in my stash situations, and don't know how long it's been in my stash, but it works great. So it is perfect for this. All right, she's finishing the last part of that fill design. Do you see why this happens to be one of my favorite fill designs? It is so pretty. And again, you can change the size of it. It did not have to be the smaller size. You could do a bigger size. I just know that the smaller size is really going to push down that batting, so I get that really nice high-low effect that I'm looking for in this trapunto. So it is perfect. All right, now after it does this, it's going to actually come around and do this really nice satin stitch. So it's going to put this like nice border on it. If you didn't want to sew out the border, you don't have to. You have that option. But I did. I feel like it gives it a really nice look. Alrighty, so it's done with that part, which again, like I said, very pretty. You don't have to do this part, but I feel like it's a cherry on the top. It looks so good whenever it's done. So it's going to give this beautiful satin stitch around. There we go. I'm trying to hold it down so that way you guys can see it. And it's just going to go around the whole design creating this. And again, it finishes it off in such a nice way. And again, it does that first little square that we did. So it makes it look like a true block if you want it that way. There she goes. She's going around. But how fantastic to be able to do this so easily in the machine. So all I'd have to do is I usually make a few of these and then I go ahead and just stitch them together, and then it makes these really nice, easy, and fast custom quilt blocks. Now I had, whenever I just did a show at AllBrands Academy, I had people actually making them and creating them these in my design center. Now we didn't stitch them out because we had other things we were stitching out, which was a lot of fun. But I had them make these in my design center and I loved it. I called it a choose your own adventure moment, and I showed them how to do it and then told them to bring in their own shapes and pick out their own fills and their own colors, and everyone's looked different. It was fantastic. It was all these custom made blocks that everyone's was custom to them. And so I think that was the great part, to see all the different options that they could do if they wanted to do these really nice blocks. They had all these really great options to them. So I don't think I've ever made the same block. Let me think real quick. I don't think I have. I made some very similar because of course I do have my favorite fills. Now depending on what machine you have depends on what fills that you have. So of course certain machines, as you go up in the different models, have more and more fills. So I know my Avenir has the most fills out of all of them, so I have way more options. But hey, Stellaire, she's got a good bit of fills in her, and as well as the T needles have tons and tons of options for fills. So again, you could custom come in here and draw your own designs, or you could bring in shapes like I did for this. So let me know in the comments, are you going to go and make a trapunto block like this, or do you prefer the original way? Honestly, no right way, no wrong way. That whichever way you get it done and a finished project is a finished project. I'm going to do it this way though, because I don't want to cut. Now I know I'm going to have someone ask, this is exquisite thread. I do not remember the exact color, and of course it's not in front of me, but it's beautiful, exquisite thread. It works great. Ooh, think if you did this in metallic King Star thread. Oh, that would be pretty. That would actually be really pretty. And yes, I have done a King Star with the fill designs and it works really well. I did a quilt that was a Christmas theme, so I used the beautiful greens and reds from King Star, and it did great. Alrighty, we're at the final part of our project. Man, it went fast, especially when you speed up the footage, Courtney. Just kidding. But honestly, from start to finish, it did very, very quickly. It did wonderful. So now this is gonna just finish off our design, and I think it came out so well. How pretty is this design? It is so easy. I, again, would not be able to free motion this. I do not believe in my free motion skills that much. I'm getting better. But this came out beautifully. So I'm going to go ahead and take it out of my machine, and she's done. So all I usually do is I go ahead and box out my corners and bring it out and add it to whatever quilt that I want. And look how squishy and fun that is. Oh, that is so good. Love it. And again, a monochromatic look would look great, but I love that I can see that fill design and it really makes it pop. But pillows, if I wanted to make decorative pillows, I'm kind of thinking I might want to do this as a purse and have this as like my own fabric for a purse. Like, how pretty would that be? And then have like a mini matching wallet that goes with it and make it in my machine. I don't know if you can see how thick it is and how much that puffy high loft batting makes it stick out, but it is so neat. I keep squishing it. It's very cool. So absolutely love this. So let me know again, are you going to make these? Have you done this before? Do you do a different method? This was just one that I was like, I bet this could work. And then it did. It worked out great. So I absolutely love my design center for this kind of thing and just being creative and making my own items.
How cool is that? So absolutely love my design center. There's so much more you can do to it, with it, but that's just some of the items. So very, very cool. So let me know, does this inspire you to use my design center? Are you gonna totally start using this awesome feature in your machine? Did you really even realize machines have these kind of cool things? So let me know down in the comments. Does your machine have my design center? Are you looking for a machine that does have my design center? Come talk to me. I'll let you know. All right, guys. Don't forget that Houston Quilt Festival is right around the corner. So if you have not gone ahead and made your plans to come see us at Houston Quilt Festival, definitely do that. It is going to be a blast. So I will see you at Houston Quilt Festival. I, of course, will be in the brother booth having so much fun, and we cannot wait to hang out with you guys. So Houston Quilt Festival right around the corner. Whew, I gotta start packing. All right, guys, I'll see y'all next week. Bye. Oh, okay. Hi, welcome to AllBrands After Hour. Nope, wrong show.